And the president's usual strategy to complicate, deflect, and distract doesn't appear to be working when you look at those polls. The president's aides and allies were all over the place yesterday trying to defend him. Here's senior White House policy advisor Stephen Miller.
Both the Director of National Intelligence and the Inspector General said they also found his comments to be credible and a matter of urgent concern, and they turned it over to the Justice Department. So despite all that, they thought that this was a credible complaint.
And they're wrong, Chris.
Well, on whose basis?
Chris, I've worked in the government now, the federal government now, for nearly 3 years. I know what the deep state looks like. I know the difference between a whistleblower and a deep state operative. This is a deep state operative, pure and simple.
The president has the State Department. He's got the CIA. He's got the Pentagon. He's got a number of other agencies. Why did he use 3 private lawyers to get information on Biden from the Ukrainian government rather than go through all of the agencies of his government?
2 different points. Number 1.
How about answering my question?
John Durham, as you know.
Wait a minute. John Durham is investigating something completely different. Stephen, I'm asking you a direct question. Why did the president use private attorneys rather than go to the State Department? If you don't know, that's an acceptable answer, but let's not talk about John Durham, who's investigating the Trump investigation.
There's 2 issues that were brought up on the phone call.
I'm not asking 2 issues. Why did he do it?
Chris, I understand that you have your question. I have my answer. There's 2 issues that were brought up on the phone call.
You have your non-answer at this point. I'm simply asking a question as to why.
Is Schiff guilty of interfering in our election?
I'm simply asking you a question as to why the president didn't use his government. You apparently are not going to answer that. I'll ask you another question. Why did the president decide to withhold $391 million in military aid to Ukraine last July that had been approved by Congress? Why did the president, if the argument is corruption, why did the president go against his own Pentagon and his own State Department?
Chris, I don't understand how you can ask that question while at the same time admonishing the president for wanting to get to the bottom of perhaps one of the biggest corruption scandals concerning Ukraine in the last few years.
I'm not admonishing anybody. I'm simply asking why did he go?
Chris.
I mean, with all due respect, this is an exercise in obfuscation. Why did the president go against his own Pentagon and State Department?
There's a tone of judgment in all of your questions. So yes, you are admonishing, and I can't speak to.
No, that's judgment on your part, sir.
So, Ramesh, he has been in government for almost
3 years.
3 years, I think it is. So, you wrote a great primer at the end of last week, and I'm so glad you wrote it because I've had to get off of Twitter a lot over the weekend because there are people who I was friends with and allies with before Donald Trump came into town that I still want to be friends with and allies with after Donald Trump leaves town. But my God, some of the excuses, and I'll just please talk about some of the straw men being set up. But in this case, in the Miller interview, he's accusing the deep state of being involved when the Donald Trump appointed IG and the Donald Trump appointed acting DNI both said the whistleblower acted honorably and played by the rules and went down the process.
Yeah, it looks like Stephen Miller may have drawn the short straw at the White House to have to go out there and make these sort of absurd defenses of the administration. They're not really, I mean, what strikes me, they're not defenses that are meant to persuade anybody who doesn't already have a will to believe that the administration is always in the right. It is just there to reassure the people who are already hardcore supporters, like so much of this administration's messaging. And I don't think it's going to work beyond that, because basically you're just saying, trust me because I'm Stephen Miller and I've been in the government for 3 years. It's, you know, it's just sort of facially absurd, but it's the kind of thing that the administration's been reduced to. And, you know, you just hear Republican after Republican saying, you know, oh, it's hearsay. Well, OK, we investigate hearsay. We investigate indirect testimony all the time, especially when it seems to be corroborated. I think the lowest point maybe we've already reached, the president threatening civil war if impeachment proceeds. You know, we're only a few days into this and we're already talking about civil war.
President threatens civil war. He talks about treason and a longing for the days when he could execute the whistleblower. Then he brings up the chairman of the Intel Committee doing the same thing there. We showed a clip last hour, Mika, of the lead, the House Minority Leader, Kevin McCarthy, who did not even read the memo from the White House. Did not even know that the president,
if you believe
the quid
that.
pro quo language.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
Come on, man.
And then, as Ramesh said, you have Lindsey Graham, who, of course, loved the idea of impeachment in 1999.
No, he thought it was important.
Standard could not be low enough in 1999. Now you have Lindsey Graham talking about hearsay as if he's a kid that hasn't even taken the LSAT yet. He has no idea. And he is running the Senate Judiciary Committee, and he has no idea how hearsay does or does not play into evidence.
I'm pretty certain this isn't going to age well. Take a look.
You're saying this is hearsay. The complaint on a number of fronts is matched by the call record.
The transcript and the complaint are not matched.
The reference to the DNC server.
Please let me talk.
Will you do a favor? I'm laying out the facts here.
No, you're not.
The
no, you're making an
repeated
argument
reference to Joe Biden. All those things are laid out here. The fact that the Attorney General was brought up.
You know, you've got an opinion, I got an opinion. You got me on the show to tell me what I think. I think Mueller did a good job for the country, and there was nothing there. I think this whole thing is a sham. I can't believe we're talking about impeaching the president based on an accusation based on hearsay.
It is unimaginable.
Lindsey, you need to read the White House memo.
No. Lindsey, you need to read a horn book on evidence. You need to go back to the very beginning. You have to, oh my God, it is.
Yeah. It is what it is.
David Ignatius, it's staggering that this guy runs the Senate Judiciary Committee and he knows nothing about hearsay, or else he's just acting in such bad faith that he doesn't even deserve a voting card. This is black and white law, and Lindsey is wrong. The only question is whether the guy that's running the Senate Judiciary Committee knows how ignorant he is. And he can talk to by the way, he can talk to any lawyer in South Carolina on either side of the aisle, and they will tell him that he is dead wrong.
Joe, I'm just going to read one more time from the rough transcript of the memo. The president, I would like you to do us a favor. Lindsey Graham's got to read that, and he's got to think carefully. That is something that the president said, and then how's Lindsey Graham going to defend that? There's one point I'd make on this Republican argument about the deep state conspiracy. It is their basic talking point. And I think Speaker Pelosi and Adam Schiff understand that they need to conduct this impeachment inquiry in a way that doesn't add additional fuel to that anger. People, if you don't already have suspicions about Trump, you worry that there's CIA operatives at the NSC who are kind of making book on the president. And I think it's really important. This impeachment inquiry has to be something that brings the country more together, that people unite around some basic allegations and the evidence that's brought forward to support them. If it ends up dividing people more, then we are going to be in worse shape. Speaker Pelosi, just to quote what she said in explaining what she wants us to be, our tone must be prayerful, respectful, solemn, worthy of the Constitution. In other words, don't turn up the heat. Keep this steady, focused, in a way that more Americans, not fewer, will come and end up supporting it.
Well, and these conspiracy theories have Donald Trump and his people playing only to a small portion, only to a small portion of the American audience. And you can see again by the polls the dramatic shift where people went last week, at the beginning of the week, only 36% of Americans supported an impeachment.